Juan-O's world.
My baby mama trippin', she been going through my phone. Tired of me cheating, I can't leave these hoes alone. Hella pics, hella tips on my cash out. It's like, hold up a...
Whoo, what up though, y'all? How y'all living? Now, some of y'all done heard about this Lil Durk story. It's been going on all day, whether or not he's eating the cheese. Dig this here. It's an impossible situation with impossible rules and impossible circumstances. You can't sit there and fight a case without defending yourself. That's just the bottom line of it. Now, a lot of these people talking about who and what is a snitch don't know anything about the streets, but at the same time, it seems like a lot of these street guys are snitches. I don't really know what to say about that at all, but let's get into it. Let's see what Trap Lil Ross got to say.
House, all right, there's been all sorts going on. I'm going to do a quick update.
He got his notes and everything ready
here,
to go.
And then what I'm going to do is go and do a full update from my desk. I have so many notes. I'm just going to sweat to death out here if I do.
You might as well, man. You might as well. I see that.
The whole thing. So I'm just going to give you guys like a brief update of kind of the second half, everything that happened in the second half. And I'll be honest, there's probably going to be a few things that I missed. All right. There were a few things that I basically thought was a little bit iffy. No disrespect to anybody at the courtroom. The courtroom staff are doing an amazing job of managing a whole.
We get it. They're doing a good job. They're doing a good job with prosecuting this case. I don't know if I would necessarily call this a good job, because you guys watch all this killing go on. You watch all this robbing, stealing, all of these different things go on, and you do nothing until it's a career mover for you.
A whole lot of people doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. But for some reason, they kept all the accredited media outside the courtroom for like...
Backroom deals, shall we say?
25 minutes. I don't know if it's because Machine Gun Kelly had come through. He was seemingly getting priority over the media, which was weird. They let MGK in before the media.
Which, why would he be there?
Maybe he had some sort of secret backdoor celebrity pass. But a lot of the media missed 20 minutes of testimony. They let in, obviously, Durk's family, which completely understood, takes priority, as well as Lil Pab's family who were in the courtroom. But yeah, there was about 20 minutes of testimony I missed. Allegedly, it was from the lead detective. I didn't actually get the chance to see them introduce themselves. But they basically...
The lead detective
gave a whole bunch of information. They pretty much showed everything to do with...
To do with what? They showed everything to do with what?
The cars that were used to kill Lil Pab and the whole stalking narrative. I'm not going to lie, they did a very good job of explaining the likely stalking that had been going on. One of the craziest things, they were talking about the BMW. It was a BMW M5, so these guys were sliding in style. I'm not going to lie to you. That is a super exclusive whip. It was a BMW M5 and an Infiniti. I don't think...
Well, truth be told, if you want, that's a perfect car to blend in LA.
They said what kind. I would like to think it was a Q50 if they're coming out from Chicago, but I don't really know. But basically, what I do know is that, like, that BMW M5, it had a tracker in it. And what was really interesting was Vonnie had been sliding around in this BMW M5 right before the murder had happened. He'd been driving it around. He'd been parking it at Durk's California crib in Encino. They had a GPS tracker that tracked that.
And that's the whole thing about this snitching, because a lot of people are telling on themselves with their actions. Like, for example, if you're doing all this, you got to know the rental car got a tracker in it, right? Seems like a Turo rental or something of that nature. But you doing all this, going to all of these places like you're not being tracked. That's it doesn't get any more stupid.
That kind of what's it called? It tracked that actual BMW around all these locations, including to Durk's crib. It was left at Durk's crib when they flew out to Miami for a day. Apparently, Durk and Vonnie and a couple other guys flew out to Miami to do a song with DJ Khaled, and then they came back on the 18th of September, and then suddenly the hit squad was initiated. Vonnie went straight back to Durk's house from the private jet, picked up the BMW M5 and started stalking Quando Rondo. That BMW M5 had stalked Quando Rondo until the early hours of the morning into the morning.
Yeah, they wanted this guy bad.
Of the 19th of August. We saw video footage of the BMW
They wanted this
M5
guy
and the Infinity circling around the block outside the Level Hotel where Quando was apparently staying. This is in downtown, so not far from the courthouse.
And that's another thing. You got to know that whole area is camerized. This hit wasn't planned that good at all. Too thirsty.
And it was just crazy. They were on Quando's case. We saw footage of Quando and Lil Pab going in and out of the hotel.
And that's another thing. Like,
I don't know if they'd gone out for a cigarette or just to get something or for a smoke or something, but they'd gone out, saw them on the street a little bit, coming back in. It seemed like the killers had actually missed them by a little bit, and then they spent all night circling the block until like past 1 a.m. They didn't have any luck.
it's kind of crazy that they were able to.
So they drove back to wherever they were staying. The BMW M5 went back to Durk's house and was there overnight, and then in the morning they started sliding again. They waited outside Quando's hotel to come out and try and catch him. They followed him all around town. They followed him to the Bathe and Ape store. We saw footage of them pulling up to Bathe and Ape, Quando and Lil Pab walking around Bathe and Ape in Hollywood. I've been to that Bathing Ape store. It's lit. I've bought loads of stuff in that Bathing Ape store. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? They showed the cars circling the block in front of the Bape store, basically stalking Quando and Pab. They showed them following them from there. They said that they were driving dangerously, running red lights, doing all type of stuff to basically keep up with them. They said they were driving dangerously, putting the public at risk to continue with this stalking activity that they were doing. All right, so that's screwed up in itself. But you know what's crazy?
See, and this right here lets you know how bad it is in Chicago. Chicago has flock cameras. Chicago has a whole lot of toll roads. Chicago has They got shot recorders. Chicago has everything that it needs, with the exception of money, to solve these crimes. They got everything they need to solve or stop gang violence too, at least put a big dent in it, but they're not. And that's why these shooters from Chicago rode around LA like they were in Chicago and just going to get away with this. This also makes me question, like, well, Illinois got the federal government as well. It's only a matter of time before some big dumbass indictment come down in Chicago, which I would imagine Durk is going to be a part of. And that's the funny thing about him fighting this case then. He got to know they got a bigger, badder case coming for him. He has to know this. The detective said, I did a lot of looking into this BMW. I found out it had a GPS tracker. I went to the exotic car rental spot where the BMW M5 was rented from because the Infinity was stolen. Don't know how they got it. They haven't got into that yet. They said that. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this stolen Infinity. It's already been suggested and confirmed in a couple of ways that Durk was tapped in with the rolling 60s. You had Brick Baby Sit on No Jumper and was the first one to point out the fact that Lil Pab was get back for what happened to King Von. Now, mind you, they was also able to get the guns in Cali, so they had to be connected or have them already, which I doubt. So, and it's been suggested that one of the informants on this case might be a Los Angeles gang member. Hint. And we all saw Juan-O drop his flag with the rolling 60s after this happened. This was crazy. This blew my mind. They said, did you see anything interesting when you pulled up to the rental spot where the BMW was rented from? They said, yeah. They said, what did you see? They said, I went in the office. They had a framed picture of the owner with Lil Durk. I'm thinking, what the hell? You had a framed picture of the guy that owned the rental spot, that rented the car that was used in the murder. That car went back to Durk's house in between all of the stalking. So that lets you know Durk been getting cars from him regularly. They're saying that that car was 2 blocks away when the murder.
murder happened, the Infiniti was the murder car that was used right at the gas station. Vonnie was apparently, the BMW was apparently waiting. Vonnie's car was just 2 blocks away, a 7-minute walk away from where the murder happened. Then they all met up in and out, then they all went their separate ways. That car went back to Durk's crib. I'm sorry, but like, how are you going to explain that? That is crazy. So they had a whole bunch of records related to that BMW, and I can explain to you more of that in a longer video later on when I get back to my office. But basically, that was just like extremely damning stuff. They then went on to show all of the footage. So obviously in the morning, I'd already told you guys that we had seen this harrowing footage of Lil Pab being taken out of the car, Quando screaming no, Lil Pab taking his last breaths. Really, really tragic stuff, and rest in peace to him. My condolences to his family. I did see them in the courtroom today. I didn't approach them. It didn't really feel appropriate in context of what was going on, but rest in peace and my condolences. That was horrible enough. But then we saw even more footage of the shooting as it happened. They had even more angles. The gas station where they got shot up, they pulled up before they actually parked at the gas pump, and Quando and Pab went in to get snacks. They had footage from inside the gas station showing Quando and Pab getting snacks in the same outfits. They showed the car actually circled around the Infiniti. It went through the gas station and drove right next to Quando and Pab's car before it backed into the gas pump. They circled around numerous times, went through the gas station. That was crazy. Obviously, we saw the shooting footage again, but it was synced up with the footage of Quando in the gas station.
Quando Rondo was out here moving kind of sloppily. You telling me you had these same 2 cars following you for 2 days and you ain't see them once, and they was making multiple passes? Like, he was moving kind of sloppy and unprepared.
Seeing them pull up, we're seeing them walking to the gas station, picking their snacks, coming out. It took quite a long time. And then when they're outside finishing up pumping gas, that's when the shooters come, shoot the place up and drive off. We saw all of that. We also saw Durk's financial records. We saw his Amex account statements. This was bad. They said that Durk, first off, Durk had an Amex that had 4 different people on the accounts that had cars. It was his company. He had an LLC that I think it was called something like, I won't say because I don't want any identifying info, but it was called like something sounds. It was like an LLC that you might have for the music industry that you might be doing your official activities through, right? So interestingly enough, after that, we basically found out that Durk had this Amex account. 4 different people had access. And all of the flights for the hitmen had been booked on that Amex account. It was bad news, okay? It was bad news, all right? You see the guy across the street? It's my friend. If he comes over, I'm going to film him. So
that was completely dumb.
Look, they basically found that this Amex account, all right, it had 4 other people had cards. One of them was Durk's dad. One of them was someone that Durk worked with, that Durk had hired. And another one was sort of almost like someone on the business side of things. But basically what ended up happening, all of the hitmen's flights were booked on the Amex. We saw the statement of the Amex showing everything that was going on with that. We basically saw that he had spent $150,000 in a month on this Amex, $6,700 at Amiri, $3,000 at Neiman Marcus, and several $1,000s on these hitmen. Now, it wasn't Durk's card. It wasn't the Durk Bank's Amex card, but it was his company, his LLC that he owned account that had all of this stuff paid for. So honestly, that was pretty bad. Okay, that was pretty odd. But, you know, we saw the footage of the hitman arriving in San Diego. They said that they'd had a party bus, a Sprinter, that had driven them from San Diego to Los Angeles. All right, this is all pretty serious. I'm not going to lie to you. All of that stuff was just crazy. So there was so many more little details that I want to get into, but I'm going to have to get into it in a separate video. But Durk's house, he was staying in a house in Encino, California. He had it on a sort of medium-term rental. He was paying $35,000 a month for his rental, and Vonnie parking the BMW used in the reconnaissance.
Now that's even more crazy. $35,000 a month for a rental house. This guy gonna be headed to being broke if he wasn't going to jail. A rental house.
For the hit at it. Absolutely crazy. Drove it there after the hit. Had it there stored before the hit. They flew out to DJ Khaled's studio together. So Vonnie took that BMW to a shop called REI or Ray. You Americans can tell me how it's pronounced. I've been there one time, but it's like a, you know, like a sporting goods store. He went and bought the ski masks that we use in the hit in the store, all right? They had a receipt for the ski masks that were bought. They were the exact same ski masks that were used in the hit. They showed the surveillance footage from the hit showing that they were in the same ski masks. Obviously, I might have already told you guys, but the hitters, actually, I wouldn't have already told you guys. The hitters were wearing the same shoes in the hit video. They changed their top halves, but they kept on the same pants and the same shoes. They had very distinctive shoes. They were looking like different types of retro Jordans to me. Somebody had a pair of red on. Somebody had a black pair with white accents. Somebody had a gray pair of Jordans, like the later stage Jordans type. You know, I could probably find you a picture in another video when I'm at my desk. But basically, they wore the same pants and the same shoes on the hit when they had the ski masks on, and then to In and Out with their faces out. Absolute insanity. Now, what was really crazy, I might let this ambulance go by first before I tell you the next part, because you ain't going to be able to hear nothing. And there's an ambulance sliding on me right now, okay? So there was just so much going on, right? There's just a lot going on. I'm going to address everything else that's going on later on in another video, okay? But like, I'm going to let this siren go by. I'm going to let this siren do its thing.
Fire trucks.
Man, God bless the fire department of Los Angeles, man. There's some good people. That's definitely a difficult job. But anyway, okay, we definitely heard kind of a lot of really interesting stuff. All the shoes matched up, but one of the craziest things, so OTF Jam was wearing a pair of pants, right? One of the other guys, I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. It might have been, it was one of the other shooters, not Jam. He was wearing like ripped jeans at the shooting. There was a rip in the right knee, same jeans in out burger with his face out 40 minutes later, same Jordans on, absolutely ridiculous. But in addition, this is going to blow your mind, all right? Jam was wearing a pair of sweatpants that had like a slogan on them, okay? And this was just absolute insanity. He was wearing a pair of sweatpants with a slogan on them, and you know what it said? They said on them, rats before riches. It had like a little thing that said rats before riches. Now, it's so ironic now that we know he's cooperating, but this it probably was like a different kind of slogan trying to say, oh, you get ratted on before you come up and get rich. But they noticed that. They noticed the same Jordans. They basically, the detectives was on smoke. The detectives found there was only 2 stores that sold these sweatpants. Where were they? Southside Chicago. And they went to the store. They said, they basically, I can't remember if they said they subpoenaed the store or they went and asked questions, but basically come to find out, they found out who had bought pairs of these sweatpants. OTFDD, just like info on top of info on top of info, and it's just unbelievable how much they actually put across.
Wow.
Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm going to have to sit down and break it all down in one long ass video. But the last thing that we heard that was really interesting was that, like, apparently after the jury, not apparently because I was there, after the jury left, there was a little bit of housekeeping done, and the defense basically threw a little kind of a little bit of a wobbler, basically saying, oh, they snuck in this evidence. It's the first time that Durk's seen these messages. It's messages from OTF Jam, where OTF Jam is apparently talking about some kind of, like, obviously we know that he had that altercation in the bathroom where Durk and other members of OTF said, yo, you're out here catching bodies, you're making it hot, you're getting the feds on us. Well, apparently Jam confronted Durk after that in a text message, basically saying he noticed he's getting cut out since that day. Basically saying, look, since that day, I know that you guys have been cutting me out of the circle. You guys have been making it difficult for me. What's going on? Apparently Durk replied, he says, look, I get it, but we can't do the feds' job for them. We got to let them do their thing. And apparently Jam replied, I'll lay it out for them. MS acting scared to be around me. Guys act like they don't F with me since that day. Durk said, look, I'm with you 1,000%. You got to use your head. We ain't helping them people. Jam said, I got you, blood. I got you on my son. And Durk said, I got you. You just got to use your brain. They basically went back and forth. They was like, yeah, I got you. Now, apparently later on, there was then that next exchange. You know, when Durk was apparently talking about Lamron Richo saying, I got him out hunting you 3 ski masks deep. Well, apparently, is that my camera overheating? Is that what's that going on? I don't know what's going on with that. But apparently, okay, let's see if I'm out of focus. Is he coming? I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know OTF Jam was in on that hit. I thought he was just a member of the crew that turned out to be snitching. But it's like, once you put yourself out there like an expendable, you can't be mad if people treat you like you're expendable.
All right, so look, I'm gonna basically wrap it up, but basically, apparently, Jam offered he's basically said I can deal with the Lamron Richo thing. I just need a couple cars, a couple sliders to get it handled. And basically, the defense is saying no, we can't allow that in. And the judge was kind of like, look, if it supports what Jam's going to say in his testimony, then I'm basically going to allow it. He's going to allow a lot of these things. He said a lot of things have been added last minute. He said you guys can attack it on cross-examination, and he basically said, look, I'm leaning towards letting you guys have your run on cross-examination because, a lot of things have been added last minute. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. We definitely might have just made another new friend right now, okay? I might have made a whole other new friend once again. We got the soundtrack popping. What is going down? Hey, it's the same guy from the other day,
And that's how they doing it in California. So the whole
This our friend, all right? This our friend. I don't know what this guy's doing, but he be out here, or she, maybe. No, it's got to be a guy, right? They be out here, though, active.
I don't know. Do you think that's a guy or a girl? Anyway, this all jokes aside, a lot of people are mad because Lil Durk is going to let it is kind of hinging toward the fact that Vonnie set all this up on his own. And he not wrong for that. Vonnie already took his deal. Vonnie can't get more time. He already made his deal with the feds. This is no different than me and you being homies and you going to court saying I did it and I go to court saying you did it. This is how it works. You can't tell somebody how to fight that case and shit. You can't tell a lawyer how to fight for you. You can say what you're not going to do, but how they fight for you or how they try to win is how they try and win. And what they doing right now is trying to win. And I don't think it's a bad idea to allow it to look like Vonnie set all this up. I mean, in essence, he did. In essence, that's his job. He the buffer between the boss and the streets. In essence, that's what he signed up for. So he should have just took that on the chin. And then not only that, if he didn't say nothing, they might not have got this far. If he had handled business accurately, they wouldn't have got this far. So in my opinion, it is Vonnie's fuck up. In my opinion, he should be falling on his sword, but he not. And then let's be clear. Lil Durk can't plead guilty and he can't take a plea because that's only going to bring more cases. He really shouldn't be fighting this one because that's going to make him broke for when the next cases come. He kind of in a lose-lose situation. That's a fact. But at the same time, if he can destroy the federal government's witnesses, then he got a fighting chance on the next case. And then he really has a fighting chance to say he wasn't the boss, which is clearly is so much proof that these guys didn't listen to him or did what he said. It's an uphill battle, but he do have a fighting chance. And with that being said, guys, ain't none of this shit worth it. All the motherfuckers that's so gangster, they gotta do this, gotta do that, them gonna be the first ones to snitch. I'm telling you. All them people that gotta show you money, that gotta have the Amiris, they gotta have this, they gotta have that, them gonna be the first ones throwing people under the bus. And that's just what it is. People so superficial, you got to pay attention to their superficialities. A motherfucker that'll kill anybody for anything is also the same motherfucker that'll snitch on anybody for anything. He's lacking of morals. Durk talked about his daddy going to jail. Now he doing the same thing to his kids and wasn't none of this shit worth it. When you look at somebody like King Von, he was going to go anyway. He was going to go early the way he went anyway. So now the whole team posed to fall because he put his hands on somebody and got what he deserved. Because in the thick of it, if somebody put their hands on King Von, they would have got the same business. So it can't be okay when you do it to somebody else and then a tragedy when it happened to you. All in all, ain't none of this shit worth it. Look at all that money Durk made. It's already all down the toilet. $35,000 a month on rent. Crazy. Durk ain't $100 million dude. And when you talk about $35,000 a month, that's an easy $300,000-$400,000 for the year just you staying there. Ridiculous. We out. And the sad part is, you paying that type of rent just to bring killers behind the gate with you. Kind of defeats the purpose, don't it?
Juan-O's world.
My baby mama trippin', she been going through my phone. Tired of me cheating, I can't leave these hoes alone.